It's there. Good afternoon. Hope everybody's doing well. Start with camp. Felt like we had a really good camp. We had more really minor injuries than we wanted. We had some pulls and some soreness that kept some guys out, but we feel like we're in pretty good shape for game week. The opening games are really, really tricky. This is my 33rd one. And you, as a head coach, have to make a lot of decisions. How much do you run? How much do you hit? How much do you stay out in the sun? You've got a night ball game. It'll be half light and half dark with 6 o'clock starting time, but you don't want to be too tired and dead-legged, but you got to get your work done. Now we're in a different place than we were 2 years ago, and even last year some, where we've got to decide who plays and how many plays do they play. You have to earn the right to play. And the players do that. The coaches really don't decide that. The players do. But now, even on a Monday for a Friday night game, you've got to decide, when do you take a certain defensive lineman out, put another guy in for 4 plays or 6 plays or 10 plays. So when is the backup guy as good as the starter when the starter's tired? Because we played some guys 90-something plays at Virginia Tech a couple of years ago on defense and the defensive line, and that's just ridiculous. That's too much. Then you wonder why you lose late in the ball game. So we're still working on all of those things as we start working toward the game on Friday night. We wanted to create depth as a team, and we feel like we did that. We're a lot deeper with this team than we've been with any of the other teams that we have had. We wanted to establish ourselves at running back and wide receiver. I don't think we can answer those questions till after the game, because you can't figure out in practice who's going to do well and who's not. And that's the biggest question mark about this team that will be answered Friday night is, can we replace the 4,000 yards of offense that we lost, and who will be doing it? And you've got Ty Chandler, who will be out there early. You've got Caleb Hood, who we feel like will play, and DJ Jones that will play at running back, but how much will they play and how productive will they be? Because none of them are experienced in this offense. And then the same at wide receiver. We've got a lot of guys, and Jeremy told you this morning, Bo will not play. We've got a lot of guys that have played some, but we haven't got guys with near the experience of Daz or Diami in the game on Friday night, and Virginia Tech's got a very experienced and good secondary. So those questions didn't get answered, and I was watching both backup quarterbacks this morning in practice, and really felt like everybody wants a definitive, this one's better than this one would go in. The truth is both of them are really good, and they're going to be good players moving forward, and they both had tremendous camps. So I do feel really, really good about our quarterback room moving forward. But most first games are lost more than one. You watch those games Saturday, and there's so many mistakes. And you just hope as a coaching staff that you've helped your team prepare to a point they'll have fewer mistakes. You go back and look at even on the road night games early. We lose to Florida State, and we have 2 block punts in the game. We have an interception for a touchdown in the game. We have a situation where they drive the length of the field or 75 yards in 1:26 and score right before the half. And then we dropped a punt at the 30. So that's 20-something points that you give up on the road that you just can't do it. And then the same at Virginia. There's a 75-yard flare for a touchdown. There's an interception at their 30. There's a drop punt at their 30. We botched a touchdown right before the half, and then didn't stop a fake punt at the end. So those are things that you can't do and win ball games, and we need to improve in those areas on Friday night. Do you want to open up with a regional rival on the road? A huge conference game, probably not. But that's done by TV. We don't get asked. Does it excite your players and your fans in the summer? Yes. So you probably work harder than if you were opening up with a lesser opponent. Unlike some people, I love going to stadiums that are full and have passionate fans like Virginia Tech. And especially after last year, our young people didn't get to experience full stadiums. And that's just not the way college football is. You miss the pageantry and the fun. And Virginia Tech's got the great opening. They've got the tremendous fans. And it's a fun place to play, a challenging place to play, but it's a fun challenge. So I know our guys really, really look forward to going up there and love that atmosphere 2 years ago. And you've got to really compliment the Virginia Tech fans because they're as good as any fans in the country. They're going to come, they're going to be loud, and they're going to support their team. And they'll continue to do that. So in this game, you, like all others, you got to win the rushing battle, and that's hard for us because they've rushed for over 250 yards against us the last 2 years. And 3 of the 5 starting linemen or offensive linemen are back. That center, left guard, and left tackle are as good as anybody in college football. And as I look, 3 or 4 of these guys are from North Carolina. So we can't let really good players like this get out of state. But then you got to win the turnover battle. And who knows, when you're working with new receivers and new running backs, it's always a concern with ball security. And we've got to force more turnovers. That's something we haven't done the last 2 years that we need to do. But stopping the run against Virginia Tech will be the toughest thing because they have been tougher than we are and more physical than we've been for the last 2 years. So that's something that has to get better on Friday night. We've got to handle the atmosphere, but I think, again, that's fun. That's something that you enjoy doing. And then you got to play hard. One thing I'll give Virginia Tech credit for, both years we've played them, they haven't given up. They were behind at Virginia Tech 2 years ago and came back and fought. Last year, they're behind, they score, the onside kick, they score again, and they kept a game close that we were moving the ball really, really well in. How important is this game in recruiting? I don't think it matters. Recruits pretty much make their decisions. I think they're a year or 2 out now. So I do not feel like a single game makes a decision for a young person. And they see their future way out past this one game. So I don't see it being that much difference from that standpoint. As far as COVID's concerned, I saw Bruce Arians say the other night, they're going back to last year's protocols and they're just going to act like it's there, it's real. So whether you're vaccinated or not, we're going to wear a mask and try to social distance and make sure that we're as safe as we possibly can be as a team. We are above the 85%, so we can meet as a team, and that's been so much better that you can meet in our staff in our team room instead of meeting in the blue zone where they're scattered out all over the place. There's just not as much emotion at that time. We can eat together. We can meet in our meeting rooms together. We do wear masks when we're inside. You can take it off to eat. We will wear masks on the buses going up to and coming back from Virginia Tech, but we will be able to eat on the bus coming back. We will not have to eat in the stadium. Our guys are getting tested twice a week. That's a university guideline or protocol for COVID. The ACC said that players had to be tested once a week. Ours will be tested twice. But we're doing what Bruce said. We're pretty much going back to what we did last year, and our guys handled it really, really well last year, and we've got to hope that they do the same this year. They're going to have to live in their bubble, and they're going to have to go to class, but they're going to have to take care of themselves for their safety and the safety of others, but also to have a chance to play. As far as Virginia Tech's concerned, and I'll mention just a few highlights on both sides. John Tenuta has been a friend of mine forever. It's fun to watch his son play left tackle, Luke, and he's really, really good. He's 6'9" and 322. And that left side, Smith and Hoffman, they blocked us all over the place last year. just ran up and down the field. And again, they're really, really good. Hoffman's from Statesville, and he's a tremendous center. Then you've got James Mitchell, the tight end's an NFL guy. I thought he was one of the best looking tight ends 2 years ago and last year I've ever seen. So he'll definitely be an NFL guy. Braxton Burmaster will start at quarterback. He's 3-1. He played against us last year, but he can run. So he's a dual threat guy, and we have not handled running quarterbacks well. Even in the Florida State and the Virginia game, we were hurt by quarterback runs in both of those games. Then they've got the two good backs with Holston and Blackshear, and Turner and Robinson are really good. Again, Trey Turner's a young man from Greensboro, and he's big and he's tall and he can really run. And Robinson's a whole lot like Daz Newsome. He can do a lot of different things with the ball. Defensively, one of the best defensive ends we played last year was Amari Barno. This guy's 6'6", 245, and can run. He's a great pass rusher. Jordan Williams was a young man we looked at. He was a defensive tackle that transferred in from Clemson, and he's starting at defensive tackle. Dax Hollyfield was very, very highly recruited by us, and he'll start at linebacker. And Alan Tisdale's another linebacker that started, and he's from Greensboro. And he's a big, tall guy that can run. Devin Hunter's, he and Connor and Strong are all really, really good defensive backs. And they'll be experienced in the secondary, and that's a concern against our guys that more inexperienced in the receiver corps. A couple of rules that I would like to see conversation about as we move forward, and then I'll answer some questions. I've been told they are considering adding 5 scholarships this year because of the extra scholarships from last year. And I think that would be a tremendous help to everybody. Even if it's just 5, that would help. It keeps coaches from thinking about maybe cutting a guy loose on his squad so he can sign somebody else. But even more than that, it really helps the high school players. It gives them an opportunity to get scholarships. And if you think 5 at every school that could afford to do that, that would really, really help. And the other rule that I think we really need to look at and change for so many different reasons is the rule that says that the quality control guys and the analysts can't coach. I mean, to me, that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. We've got young coaches on the field, and we're wanting young coaches to grow and learn so they can take the older coaches' place. Why not let them coach? It's just ridiculous. And the other part of that is then they try to interview for jobs, and the other guy says, did he coach for you? No, he can't. He's on the field, he's in the meetings, but he can't speak to players and he can't coach. And we're paying these guys, so let them coach. And then some people are getting in trouble because some are allowing them to coach and some are not. But it's very, very unfair to guys like ours when we will not let them coach because that's the rule. But at the same time, they know their buddies at different places are coaching. So those are 2 things that I think would really help college football. Mark, questions?
Okay, thank you, sir. We will begin with Aaron Beard. Go ahead, Aaron.
Hey, Mac, I wanted to ask you about the vaccination thing with you already mentioned being past 85%. I was curious, just in the big picture, what was the biggest way you sort of approached and the coaching staff approached conversations with guys in terms of educating them or encouraging them, but not forcing them, maybe dealing with a guy that was reluctant and had concerns, that type of thing?
Aaron, it's a great question, and it seems like it's something that all of us are dealing with in our country and even across the world. The first thing that Sally and I did was get vaccinated because we felt like it was the best thing to do for my job and for our safety. The second thing is I felt like that it was really, really important for me to educate our team. So every day I would bring articles in and still do to this day. And it would be on both sides. I tried to be as fair as I could possibly be, and told guys, if you're on the edge of getting your vaccination, go talk to the doctors. Go talk to them, go visit with them. And at no time did we ever want to make somebody feel uncomfortable if they didn't want to take the vaccine. That we've said from day one, we're not going to play you based on or not play you based on whether you're vaccinated or not. You're going to have to be really safe either way. You're going to have to wear your mask, but you're going to have to be careful like last year, especially if you're not vaccinated. And then also told them the differences that they will be treated differently with testing if they're vaccinated as compared to if they're not. But I think the biggest thing for them is, I'm sure they're tired of me talking about it, but I've tried to be fair. And I think that's the most important thing.
And to follow up with that, when you were dealing with this, you just talked about the protocols can be a little different, maybe, the testing and so forth. Is there a competitive advantage to having do you look at it at all like that, about having guys tested to where, or vaccinated to where the testing might be different?
I think, Aaron, again, my job is to educate them like we do with going to the NFL, for instance, and then their job as a family is to make decisions. I will have to sit here now every week and be concerned about whether someone will play or not. I mean, that's just the way it is. But even if they were vaccinated and they show symptoms, then they would be tested. And if they have a positive for COVID, they're not going to play either. So what I've done, I'm at the point now where we're playing. I think the guys that have decided to get it have gotten it. The guys that have decided they don't want to probably aren't going to past this point, unless something changes that we're not aware of out in our country. So let's go play, but be smart, be careful. I wear this everywhere, indoors, every day if I'm around people. And I'm telling our coaches, you have to do the same. This isn't funny. This isn't a joke. It's real. It's facts. And let's be safe.
Let's go over to Lucas Tomei. Go ahead, Lucas.
Coach, I wanted to ask you about THI. He's a bit unique in that he has so much big game experience from his time over at Tennessee. How valuable is that in the running backs room, especially going into, a season opener at an atmosphere like Lane Stadium?
Lucas, we feel like it's very important, especially for early season opening game on the road. He's been in those big games. He's not going to get big-eyed. He's not a fumbler. He's really good at pass protection. He knows what to do. And that's the reason we signed him. We're not big on grad transfers or transfers, but we did feel like that we needed that experience in that room. And we feel really, really good about him going forward. We haven't run him as much or hit him as much as some of the younger ones, simply because he's played so much at Tennessee. But I just saw him at lunch a few minutes ago and said, can't wait to watch you on Friday night. And he's really excited. So it should be fun to watch him.
Yeah, and have you seen him grow as a leader and get more comfortable with the guys in the locker room over the preseason?
He has. One of the best compliments you can have for our team is to be voted on the leadership committee. And he was voted on the leadership committee and didn't get here till January. So I thought that was a great compliment to him.
Michael Coe, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, what lessons have you taken from the game in Blacksburg 2 years ago, and how would you say your preparation for this game has been different from the preparation for that game?
Michael, I'm not into crowds and what that does and momentum of the game as much. I love crowds. And at Texas, we played before a full house every game, and we got so we did that here before, and then 2 years ago we were pretty much the same way. So I love a great atmosphere. I think it's a lot harder to prepare a team to go play in front of a half full stadium than it is when they're pumped and full. It's just a motivator for your team. What I took away from a few years ago is we need to stop the run better, and that hadn't changed because they ran up and down the field. that they're not going to quit because we had the trick play and jumped up on them. And it was a great opportunity for us to put it away, and we didn't, and they did. We had a fake punt at midfield that stunk, that they stuffed, and that cost us an opportunity. And then we missed 2 field goals and didn't finish on 2-point plays in the red zone. So that's what I remember about that game more than anything else. I called the Virginia Tech NC State game for ESPN a couple of years before I came back into coaching, and it poured the rain an hour before the game. I mean, it was blowing rain sideways, and you would have thought they couldn't even played. And then the rain went away and the stadium was full. So I don't know where they went. The stadium was empty. And then as soon as that rain was over, I thought, well, nobody's going to be here. This is going to be kind of crazy. It was packed and they were pumped. So I really admire the Virginia Tech fans and have to give them all the credit in the world. But to me, that's a motivator for us. It should be fun. You want to be at a place where they don't like us and they're going to be mad at us. And that's good. That should be motivation within itself.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Okay, Hunter Nelson, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, thanks for taking the time to join us here today. So now that you're in year 3 since you've come back to Chapel Hill, obviously a lot of fans are talking about potentially the ACC championship being up for grabs, but then some other fans might question some of the offensive production that was lost last year and how you replace it this year. So in your mind, what is your measuring stick for success as you move forward this season?
Well, Hunter, number one, I'm leaning more toward that second group. Nobody can talk about winning the ACC championship till somebody beats Clemson, because they're the king. So they've got that spot. And in fact, when you look at the college football playoff, everybody talks about everybody going to be in the playoff. There's only 3 that are probably going to be in there, and then the rest of us are wannabes that are trying to fight to get there. And same thing with the top 10. I think there's a top 3 and all the rest of us. But I would say that we're way ahead of where I thought we would be going into season 3. We have more depth. We've recruited better than I could have imagined at this point, even though I thought we would. I didn't know it would be this quickly. We still haven't proven that we're ready to take another step. 8 wins is fine. That's a good measuring stick for us, but we're going to have to prove it. And that starts on Friday night. This will be a dogfight. And it'll be a really close game and tight game to the end. And to be really good, you've got to win those games, and especially on the road, and even more especially early. But I'm so pumped. I was talking to our coaches yesterday. We'll have better players next year than we've got this year. Now we'll lose a great quarterback, but our team will have better players. So this program is here to stay, whether we win Friday night or not. And whether we have a great season this year or not, or whether we're in the top 10 or not at the end, or whether we're playing Clemson for the championship. I'm excited about where we're headed. And I never dreamed we would be talking about the things we're talking about right now, but that's just talk. Now it's time here in 4 more days or 5 days, we got to start proving this stuff. We've talked enough, it's time to win. And if we don't win Friday night, doesn't mean the season's over. It means we got a lot more work to do. And because we've got too many question marks right now that aren't answered to start anointing ourselves for something big.
Andrew Jones, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, you guys had some issues last season late in the first half of games, giving up points, quite a few touchdowns. And you said back in January, and we talked to you a couple of days after the Orange Bowl, that was one of the things you wanted to address. Do you feel like you've made some progress addressing that? And is the added depth on defense a part of addressing that issue?
I would think, Andrew, yes, and yes. We addressed it and we've looked at it. I do think depth will be a huge part of that, because you get tired right before the half, and you don't want to substitute right before the half when they're going to get a 20-minute rest. But I think if I remember, Florida State went 75 yards in about 1:26 after we had just scored to cut it to 24-7 and they make it 31-7, which is a killer, just an absolute killer going in. Notre Dame, we kick a field goal instead of going for it on 4th and 1 with 1:12 left. And Notre Dame takes it in 1:12 down and scores to kick the field goal, I think, to tie it up. So we've got to do better in that last 5 minutes of the first half. We've done better to start the second half than we have finishing the first half. So what we've done is our coaches have gone back and looked at every one of those drives that we've had problems with for 2 years. And that's what you do with your research when you're self-evaluating your team to try to see what we could have done differently. Were we tired? Did we not get the tip ball? Did we drop an interception? Why is that happening to us? So hopefully we'll do better in that area on Friday night.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, Greg Barnes, go ahead.
Hey, Mac, wanted to circle back to the previous question. You're talking about kind of the hype and how it's just talk right now. And Friday, you kind of get to see how this team actually is. That's been a talking point all season long. The elevated expectations for this team. How do you feel about your team's mind space right now in terms of understanding that and realizing that they have to go out and perform and they can't hold themselves to a standard they haven't yet reached?
Greg, it's a good question. It's we've got 53 staff members and 106 players. And to ask how I feel that they think is a little crazy, because I'd have to sit down with each one of them individually, because all of them think something different. It's amazing to have a team meeting and you say something, and then when you leave, you ask some questions, and some of them didn't even hear you, or they didn't understand it. And then some others are all in, oh man, that is great, coach, I love it. And usually the more a guy's playing and the older he is, the better he understands. Our problem is not with the older guys. They were 5th in the country last year and going to Florida State and laid an egg and stunk. And then came back and fought in the second half and lost part of our season last year when we probably shouldn't. So they get it. They know that. They understand now that we went from 5th to 25th in 3 hours and 15 minutes. It didn't take us long to get kicked out. So old number 10, if we leave Blacksburg on that bus disappointed, old number 10 is going to die, or 9 or whatever it is, and it'll drop to 25 really fast. So that bunch understands it. What I've told them to do is be the best team you can be. You can't determine how Virginia Tech plays. I said they've got a lot better players than perceived, and people are giving them credit for. They do a tremendous job coaching. So don't worry about them. They're going to be hyped. They're going to have trick plays. They may onside kick. Those fans are going to be pumped. So that's a given. You worry about you. And if we play the best we can play and don't win the game, then we weren't the 10th best team in the country in preseason. Let's figure out where we are and get ready for Georgia State. And that's the way we've approached it. You worry about you. And you be excited. You have fun. You compete. Understand it's going to be a tight game. Don't come to me and say, boy, these fans are pumped. I got that. Before you go, I can help you with that one. Hey, man, they love that song. I got that. Before we start, man, coach, they're fired up on the other side. 100% check those boxes now, and don't come to me and tell me you're surprised that they're going to have a surge at the first of that game with so much energy because they've been mad since our game last year. You just play. You be you, and let's see how good we can be.
Thank you.
Thank you.
CL Brown, go ahead.
Hey, Mac, I was curious if you could how you would sum up the relationship between Sam and Phil, and if this kind of matches some of your best OCs and quarterbacks that you've had along the way. Not necessarily in the talent and execution of it, but just kind of the synergy that they have in terms of the game plan.
Yeah, CL, you can probably ask Phil and get more out of that than me here in a minute, but Greg Davis had a great relationship with Vince Young and Colt McCoy, and I think that's so important. And Phil and Sam seem to have a great relationship. They've never had a harsh word. The relationship has worked so well. Sam's over here all the time. They're studying. They're both, they love to study video of pros and college and different teams. And they're both just nuts when it comes to football. We'd call them gym rats a long time ago. So I think their relationship's great. Phil's not a yeller. Sam's not a guy who likes being yelled at. So it's just, they just talk and it stays this way the whole time. But I think they have a tremendous relationship.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Noah, excuse me, Noah Monroe, go ahead.
Hey, Coach Brown, Noah Monroe from the Daily Tar Heel. Tony Grimes made great progress in his game from last August, coming in after his junior year of high school to this August. What about him allowed him to make this leap?
Noah, he's got length, he's got speed. There's a reason he was rated as a 5-star recruit. Very few high school seniors could come in and do what he did last year. I worried about him being homesick. I worried about him getting hurt. I worried about him going home. I've never had a young guy in my 33 years as a head coach do that. You just skip your senior year in high school. And if he wasn't such a competitor and phenomenal athlete, he couldn't have done that. But we're talking about the Dre Bly's of the world here. And Tony Grimes is one of the best corners potentially that I've ever coached. And a lot of it's just his attitude. He's mature, he's tough. He's one of the first ones at every meeting. I mean, we meet at 6:30 every morning. He's there at 5:30 because he's trying to get things done. And he competes every play in practice. So when you've got the God-given talent that he's got, but you've got the demeanor and the passion and the drive, it gives you a chance to be really, really special. So I can't wait to watch him grow over the next 2 years.
Thank you.
Okay, over to Brendan Marks.
Thank you, Noah.
Hey, Mac. I wanted to elaborate on something that you spoke about, I think, the last time we had you, about Jeremiah Gemmel. You mentioned that he's one of the best leaders you may have ever had. In what ways has that shown up? I mean, can you give me a couple of examples of that? And also, how have you seen him grow in that aspect since you first got back?
Brendan, the first thing is he coaches all the other kids. It's so cool to watch. I'll watch him say, come here. No, you're too wide. Cut your angle. You've got to come inside out. And it's just amazing. And he hustles every play. He knows what to do. He's got tremendous instincts, but he is the coach on the field. And that's a cliche we all use, but he is. And then I see Tamon Fox yesterday or this morning, I guess, coming up to Javon DeWitt and saying, Coach, I saw this. Isn't this why he did that? And I see him say, hey, Des Evans, come over here. I want to show you why Virginia Tech's doing this, because it's a key. And I thought to myself, very honestly, if we could take Sam and Jeremiah Gemmel or Tamon Fox and leave me and Coach Longo and Coach Bateman here, they could coach the team. They know enough. They've got respect to the guys. Go. We'll watch it on TV. But that's what you've got to have to win. And we need more leaders like that to step up. But these guys are really, really special leaders.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brendan.
All right, Coach, I think we've hit up against our time limit for today. We really appreciate your time and good luck this week.
Mark, we got 2 more. I'll try to be quick.
Yes, sir. All right, Ross, go ahead.
All right, appreciate it. Coach, we've heard Bo Krause is going to be out, and going into the preseason camp, we thought he was going to be available. So, wonder if you could shed some light on what's going on with Bo Krause, and additionally, with Chaffrey Brown and Brian Anderson on the depth chart, what do you expect from those 2 guys who I know have been struggling with injuries as well? Just their status. Anything you can tell us would be helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not supposed to get into injuries with Bo. We would have to have our medical people do that. They've told us to stay in our lane. But we do hope to get him back before the season's over. And the other 2, we're hoping that they play on Friday. And that's just, they're out there, they're practicing. So we're planning on them playing. And
Okay, thank you.
okay, one more.
All right, Paul Collin, go ahead.
Coach, thanks for joining us. So much talk around the running backs, receivers, and Sam Howell, of course. But talk about the offensive line and the importance of the cohesiveness and the health and the depth and the execution of that group.
I feel like that we are so fortunate to have the same offensive line basically for 3 years. That just doesn't happen. And Charlie Heck's the only starter that's not still in that group, and I know he's competing for a starting spot at the Texans. So good for him. But the fact that we've had the same offensive line coach with the same players makes all the difference in the world for 3 years. And that should help us, along with the tight ends being back, that should help us allow the others to grow and grow up. If you've got a great offensive line and a great quarterback experience at tight ends, it gives you a chance to let the more inexperienced receivers and running backs grow up. So I feel like we'll have a chance to do that.
And to follow up on that, we expect to see more tight end play this year in the offense.
Yes, we've gotten the ball to our tight ends much more. And I think to be fair to Coach Longo and our offensive staff, that when you're less experienced at wide receiver, you go to the best players. And last year, Daz Newsome, De'Ami Brown, and those two running backs were really, really special. And there's only one ball. So you're going to get it to your best players. So yes, I do know that you'll see the tight ends more involved this year. And Mark, in closing, if I could say, because Phil's here and we'll move forward, thoughts and prayers to all the people in Afghanistan that we're trying to get back home safe. Thoughts and prayers for Louisiana. How tough that is. I've been down there. And that's a real difficult thing. And then you've got COVID on top of hospitals and people without power. So let's make sure that we get to play a game and we understand how important this game is and how much fun it is. But there's a lot of pain out there too. And we need to make sure that we keep all of this into perspective and keep our prayers.